Here is the walkthrough for the instructional portion of the final exam, where you will be watching a video and providing ratings and justifications for those ratings. In this case, you'll be watching this video on patterns. It's a first grade classroom. Watch it through. Make sure you watch the whole thing, because a lot of important stuff happens at the end, and you'll need to see some other things that happen to justify your decisions later on. I'm not going to go through it right now because that would make this video really long and the file really large. So the first question is, to what extent does the teacher demonstrate rapport with the student? And these are the different levels that you can choose from. Again, there's only three. Bottom being no evidence, 2 being there's a middle, 3 being good rapport. So what happens in this video is that students are very enthusiastic, but they are not following the room rules a lot. Now this means that the students are not, 1, meeting the needs of the teacher, 2, they're not really respecting the teacher and the room rules, or each other in some cases, and 3, the teacher is not meeting the needs of the students, and therefore you can say that that mutual respect isn't really happening. In this case, you would probably rate this as a 2, because there is a lot of nice back and forth. She's trying to tap into their interests, and they're very enthusiastic, but it gets out of control. That leads to the next rating of the safe environment. Again, the idea being that physical and social safety are what we're talking about. 1, not safe. 2, physically safe, but there's some evidence that students are hesitant to participate, or there are behavioral disruptions. And 3, we have physical and social safety. In this case, I'm going to give it a rating of a 2. And as you see, especially as you get into this middle section, there's a lot of disruptive behavior, a lot of kids not really on task. She has to calm them down and request them to listen. A lot of times she just lets it go, but it is interfering with the lesson. The next one is engagement. And again, this means cognitive engagement, meaning they're focused on, in this case, patterns. I would say that this is a 2. When you look at it, I can see some people going with a 1, but I really can't see you going with a 3, because even, my justification disappeared. Well, I'll put it in there. The justification is that even though students are engaged most of the time in something, in other words, they're busy and they're active and so on, it's not usually about patterns. So even when she's going through some examples early on here where she's showing them a whole bunch of different pictures, they mention a lot of other things that have nothing to do with patterns, or they don't talk about patterns at all. So that's what should be in the justification. I'll make sure that's there for when you look at the quiz. Next, deepening student learning. Right, the teacher sometimes provides feedback to make learning progress, but it is inconsistent. This whole first section, the major issue is that she is going through and not really modeling or giving the feedback of patterns. There's a lot of yes and no, but a lot of redirection. And it doesn't often provide the right kind of feedback for students to really master the skill. Now, the skill of finding a pattern is one I think that most of the students have, and this whole beginning section might not be necessary. But we'll get to that in a little bit. When we get to targeting misconceptions, the teacher doesn't really target any misconceptions at all. When you think about what you could have done, it could be that patterns don't have to be always colors or shapes. They could be textures or sounds or anything. So I think for this group, though, she needs to keep it simple. But she might, if she structured the lesson differently, target some of those potential misconceptions. Finally, for modeling and guided practice, I would give her a 3 here. She does model and she does provide guided practice later on. It doesn't happen until way back here. Here's where the modeling happens, and the video ends right when they're about to go and do their guided practice, but she is going to do it. So even though it's not in the video, we can imagine that it's in there. If you want to be a stickler and say, well, I can just look at the video and give it a 2, that's fine too. but there is a space for both things. So go ahead and see what you would assign to the other or each of these, and if you have any disagreements with what I'm saying or you think that there's some other evidence that suggests something else, let me know and we can figure it out.